Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi, and today we are going to be talking about how you will be able to triple your income in 30 days using DC psychology. All right, so if you're not a trainer or a coach or a consultant, maybe this is not exciting, but if you ever want to be, well, then it would be exciting because we're going to go through some really cool ideas on how you can have an extraordinary advantage over, well, basically most other people. All right, so first of all, let's kind of look at a little bit about what is DC psychology so that you can kind of get an idea. First of all, DC psychology is the science of group dynamics. That means, well, basically how people act and react to each other in groups. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that like when you're with your friends, your behavior is usually different than when you're at work, and when you're with your family, it's also different. And well, basically, that is the effects that a group of people will have on you. Now, DC psychology basically helps you to understand how and why that works and how to influence that. So, for example, you may notice that in some groups, some teams, even some relationships, the group basically brings out less desirable elements of your persona. Okay? While in others, it's like, wow, I am so awesome and you're so cool and creative and, well, just in the flow, right? So, that's kind of the essence of DC psychology. But let's look at some of the tools that go with that. See, in order to really understand that entire element of group dynamics, you have to understand how you interact with the group and how the group interacts with you, and what are the dynamics that make that really cool, okay? So, if you're going to improve your training business 3 times, you've got to come at it from a perspective that nobody else has. So let's just look at a couple of these DC psychology models. Let's look at the colored brain, all right? So now the colored brain is based on the brain's genetic ambiguity relief process. Okay, so now let's say, for example, you're a trainer and you go up to a client and you talk to the client, and the client is basically says, oh, you know, we need teamwork and we need better communication. Well, you know, that's kind of a normal thing, right? I mean, if you're like an organization, an HR manager, and you're watching this, you're saying, yeah, like, we need that, okay? Because that's kind of a normal thing. Everybody needs that. We need more engagement. We need, okay, more mental health during the COVID session because, you know, people are kind of freaking out, okay? So all of this stuff is happening at a lot of organizations. Now, if you go and say, oh, my training is going to be good because I like do mindset change and I do all this stuff and I'm emotional intelligence and everything else, it's like, well, you and 5,000 other people are talking about the same stuff, okay? And well, honestly, there's just no competitive advantage there, all right? So if you're going to be able to compete and be the star in people's light, you're going to have something new and something proven. I know that kind of sounds like it's an oxymoron, right? New and proven? Wow. Anyway, okay, so first of all, let's just look at the brain's ambiguity relief process. Rather than telling people, hey, we've got like this whole super cool thing that's called colored brain and it, you know, helps you to understand how you get clarity. Okay, another tool, another hype, all this stuff, right? I mean, everybody's got stuff, right? I got the DISC, and I got the MBTI, and I got the ABC, and, you know, everybody's got something, okay? So, you don't sell the solution. You basically need to go through and understand the arsenal that you have. In the particular case for colored brain, the arsenal is the research that goes behind the brain's ambiguity relief process. So see, by educating people about the ambiguity relief process and how literally it affects synergy, it affects levels of trust, which in turn affect innovation and engagement, and of course, can also be responsible for conflict or reduction of conflict. Okay, and you're educating people as to why that works. Now, guess what? The only thing that is able to measure and identify the brain's ambiguity relief process is colored brain. So now what you've done is you've talked to a client relating to understanding their problem from a completely different perspective, a root cause perspective. Okay? And see, DC psychology is all about root causes. Okay? So that's one of the tools, is the brain's ambiguity relief process / colored brain instrument. All right? Now, the other thing that we've got a lot of instruments as well as methodologies, right? So just to be clear, anytime we talk about colored brain or ambiguity relief, it's not your personality. It only deals with one thing, how you do things. And the other element of making sure that you have the competitive advantage is that it's got to be simple, right? See, if it's complicated, if you actually have to go through like a 2-day class just to understand one freaking thing, okay, and you have to have a PhD or at least be, an IQ of, 200 or more in order to really get it and use it, well, it's not going to be very practical, right? So what you got to do is you got to have simple components that can be put together like building blocks, all right? And so the simplicity of colored brain is only one thing: how you get clarity, and that's basically your how. Now, let's look at the why. Well, why you do things is also important, right? And that basically deals with the emotional drive model. Now, why you do things affects how you make decisions, or well, it makes the type of why you make the decisions that you make, really, which of course tend to be emotionally charged. And emotionally charged means, like, for example, oh, I don't want to miss out, I don't want to look bad, I don't want to whatever, I don't want to be alone, I want to, be like this, all these little things that are just kind of, in your head that determine why you make decisions. Now, the way that you make decisions, the emotional motivations behind these decisions, okay, and if you say, oh, I'm very logical in the way that I make decisions, yeah, that means that you feel very good about being logical in the way that you make decisions, which means it's still an emotion, right? Come on. Okay, think about it, all right? So, okay, when you are, let's say, for example, in case you haven't noticed, there's some women like shoes, right? Okay, so they go to the store and they're like checking these shoes out, and it's like, wow, logically speaking, if I buy these shoes, I'm gonna look good, I'll be able to get a promotion, I'll do this, and they're only like $1,000, okay? So it's worth the investment. It's a very logical choice. Okay, so it's still emotional, right? Because your brain is kind of like getting you to justify the emotional foundations through logic. I mean, logic can be pretty much created in any way you look at it to justify the emotions, right? Okay, so what happens with the emotional drive model is now, okay, you have another model that literally predicts team performance, okay? That means that you could look at a team and you can say, take this guy and take him out and put this other guy in, and literally, you can see potentially up to 60 or 100% better performance for the team, okay? This isn't made up. I mean, we do this, right? I mean, when we go into organizations, these are actual things that we do, and we even guarantee. Now, there's the other thing, right? Okay? DC psychology is a predictable science, okay? So, when you go up to people, you basically say, yes, we can predict this, and yes, we will be able to get you these results, and yes, we're so confident that we don't need to have upfront money. In fact, you don't even have to pay us unless it works, but sign the contract, because you got to make sure that you do get paid when it does work, right? Okay, but see, here's the thing, okay? It always works. We have a system. The DC psychology system is a predictability model that consistently works, which is also why we can do organizational culture change. So let's kind of wrap up here, okay, and look at what we've learned in order to 3 times your income in the next 30 days using DC psychology. Number 1, okay, Explain a problem like the client has never heard it before and be the only one that can essentially solve that problem, okay, through tools and methodology. Okay, number 2, create a predictability model where you can literally say in advance that if you take this out here and this out there, this person here and do this and just ask them to try it and see the performance that they are able to achieve just within a week, and you do this for free, okay, now you literally have helped them to achieve results in advance and they go, wow, this really works. Let's go ahead and hire this person for the bigger thing. And number 3, offer a guarantee. Now, if you have a methodology that is not going to necessarily get the result or sustainable results, well, you might want to not get the guarantee. But with a DC psychology model, we've got a complete system that helps you to not only get the results, but measure the results and measure the progress through our various tools. So when you can give a guarantee, that puts you above everybody else because the client's risk is reversed. So with those 3 things, any client that you go to is going to be able to essentially look at you and go, wow, this person is preferred over everyone else. But how do you get leads? Okay, well, let's just take these 3 things. If you were to ask questions, let's say on LinkedIn, you go to the HR managers, and if you're an HR manager, please leave a comment, or if you're a coach or a trainer, leave a comment below here. So and tell me if this is true, right? If somebody gives you any of these 3 things, would you consider them over others, right? Now, here's the other thing. When you go and you connect with people, let's say on LinkedIn, now, rather than say, hey, I've got this really cool program, okay, which they don't read because they get like hundreds of these, like, hey, look at my program, it's really cool. Let me do some training for you. I am awesome. Don't do that, okay? You ask them questions. Hey, we're doing a survey relating to if HR managers are aware of the impact of the brain's ambiguity relief process in engagement, okay? What do you think about this? And, would you like to know more? Oh, well, yes. What is that? What's the, so people now are interested. They're curious. Why? Because it's not a sales pitch. Okay. So a second way would be something like, we're currently looking for organizations to showcase our team predictability model to show how we can improve team performance in 1 week. And of course, this is part of the research and there's no cost to you. Okay, so now people are like, wow, no cost. Okay, we got a little team thing here. And again, I mean, remember, you're showing results in advance. So once you do that, once they see that you can do it, it's like, wow, we want to do this for the other teams too. Why? Because it means that they actually succeed more. Okay, and of course, you can do things like innovation and get people to be more innovative. And you can do this with like about 20 minutes worth of work, okay, with the DC psychology model. Now, and of course, the third one is we were just wondering if there are any other trainers, consultants, coaches who are offering you guaranteed results in achieving performance and engagement KPIs for your organization. If you do not have any, we'd like to talk to you and discuss the guaranteed results that we offer. Okay, so I mean, just looking at that perspective, you are going to be able to use the foundations of DC psychology to not only get more leads, but convert those leads more effectively because you actually get results. And that's what people want. And then, of course, that means once you start getting those results, you know what? They talk about it to other people and so on. And you just keep repeating the same process. And then those people talk to other people in other departments. And, especially large organizations, you talk to one department, they talk to other departments. And guess what? You have tripled or more your training, coaching, consulting income in the next 30 days. This is Arthur Karmazi wishing you great success.